folks, and welcome to Paddock Pass, your post-race edition for the 2019 Hungarian Grand Prix. It's your race winner, under the umbrella. Wow, we had a race. We really had a race. Max Verstappen, of course, from his first pole position on Saturday. The two Mercedes behind Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton, lap one. Bottas took contact not once but twice. First from his teammate, second from Charles Leclerc. Damaged front wing. Bottas's race is pretty much over. From that point, it's Verstappen and Hamilton. And this wonderful, almost chess game that started between the two of them. Lewis would catch up, they'd have a little fight, he'd drop back again, they'd have a fight. It was great. And then out of nowhere, James Vales at Mercedes calls Lewis in. Second stop, puts him on the mediums, Verstappen's on the hards, and then he has 20 laps to cut back a 20-second gap. And there was a point at which it looked impossible. There was sort of 15 laps, there was like a 17-second gap. I think 12, 13 laps, there was a 15-second gap, and you're like, he's not going to do this. Unless Verstappen hits a wall, he's not going to do this. And then Max's times into the 20s. Then a high 20, 120.9, then a 121, and at this point Lewis is banging in mid 1 minute 18s, and then the gap's a second and a half, and Verstappen has hit the wall, and then it's only a matter of time. It was a great contest. Hamilton, your race winner. Verstappen second, measured, disappointed but measured, and third right at the end, Sebastian Vettel, who had been fourth for the majority of the day, but again, a different tyre strategy allowed him to overtake Charles Leclerc with a couple of laps to go, and that is your top three. So congratulations on the podium today, but I know you said you thought it was going to be hard yesterday. Did you expect it to be this far away from first and second?
You never expect it that far, but I think it's a fair picture, unfortunately.
From where we were at the start of the season to where we are now going into the summer break, have things got better or have they got worse?
Well, I mean, in Australia we had a decent gap to the cars in front, unfortunately, and we have still a gap. So I think we had our chances. Due to some circumstances, we didn't win a race, but that's not so important. I think in the end of the day, we were not competitive enough throughout those races, and never could really take control of the race and force the win to happen. So we know that we are behind. We know that these tracks hurt us. Some other tracks looking forward may be better for us, but overall we know we need to improve. So having said that, though, I think the team knows it, and we are addressing it with all that we have and all that we can. But if it was easy, then anyone could do it. So I don't think it's that easy.
Do those rare moments of positivity give you hope you can get a win on the board before the end of the year, or is the focus on...
We go race by race, you know, so I think from where we are, we have to do that. Obviously, the focus is on the car, the focus is on the car development. Personally, I think we made huge progress. I didn't feel at home at all with the car for most of the races. I feel also I can do better in the second half, so lots of stuff to focus on. But I think the last couple of weeks, Germany in here in particular, the last 2 weeks have been better for me with more feel for the car. So it's about to build on that. Obviously, Spa and Monza are completely different in terms of track and spec that you're running. But overall, we know our weaknesses, and that's what we need to address.
That was incredibly close, but a phenomenal drive. You must take a lot of pride out of that.
Yeah, he gave it all. But yeah, he was clearly a bit faster than us, and I was struggling for grip after a few laps on a new set. And it was just not our day, I think, in terms of pace compared to Lewis. But I think compared to the others, we were still way faster. And I think overall it was a good weekend. Also looking back to get that pole position, I think it was great for us. Of course, when you start on pole, you want to win as well, but you also have to be realistic. And today we didn't have Mercedes' pace, and then to be second with the fast lap is the maximum we could do.
You almost had it though, and when you were on the same strategy, you had him and held him at bay. Was there any thought process about doing two stops?
No, because probably if I would have done a two-stop, he would have stayed ahead of me because they just had a bit more pace. So for us, the only thing was to try and keep him behind on the same tires. But of course, then they had the option to do a two-stop, and it worked out for them. But it's also not that it was a big surprise for me once he passed me. You see it in the laps before with the amount he's getting to you, closing into you. yeah, it's what it is at the moment. I'm also not really too disappointed. You just have to, like I said, be realistic that we were not quick enough.
But you stand here now, going into the summer break, 2 race wins under your belt. Mercedes see you as a championship threat. Could you have envisaged that when we left Australia?
Yeah, not really, but like I said, we still need to improve to be a championship threat. But again, good weekend for us, and we know where we have to work on, and we'll keep working on that.
What a day, and what a win. With 12 laps to go and a 15-second gap, I think a lot of us were questioning it. It sounded like you were questioning it at the time. Did you ever believe that this could be done?
I think at 15-second gap, 12 laps, I wasn't necessarily questioning, because at that point I was putting in some serious laps. But I think there was a period of time I was like, there's no way I'm going to catch this up. 19 seconds, how am I going to close that up? I think I did get to lap 13 and there was 13 seconds, I think. And I was like, I've got to do a second a lap now. But I started putting in some killer times, man. And then I saw his time start going up, so it was a second and a half up. And I was thinking, okay, well, this is looking possible. Okay, let's keep going. Let's not push. Let's not give up. And I didn't make any mistakes on those last 15 laps or so. And yeah, and then as I started reeling them in, I was like, okay, I've got this. And it's just about them positioning. And if you look, when I was out there, yes, I'm taking risks when I'm on my own, but when I'm with him, I don't take risks, because I'm leading championships. So I don't take the same risk as if I would be if I was fighting for a championship, if you know what I mean.
You can see that down at turn 4 when you were battling.
Just give him extra space. Yeah. Just extra space.
Did you enjoy the battle?
I did, yeah. Like, I could have got by. I have to re-watch it. I think I must have been by already at turn 4. I should have just could have.
He almost seemed to give you enough that you could go through together.
Yeah, which I didn't know that, So, did I risk playing it tight with him and clipping, or do I just give him plenty of space and find it another time? So that's what I did.
Going into this second half of the season, looks like it could be more of the same. Are you relishing the fight, or is it something that you worry about seeing another team come into this with you?
It's not something that I worry about. I don't generally operate with worry in my system. I don't think it's a negative to carry. I think it's great that Red Bull are there, and I think it looks like they're going to be with us throughout the rest of the season. So we're going to have many more of these battles, and I can't tell you how excited I am about it. And today was really one of the first real battles, and maybe, I don't know if you said at the end it wasn't a battle, but the fact is it was a battle every single lap of that race of who can manage the tyres better. And then I went on to a 2, which is pretty hard to make a 2 work. I think even if I stayed on a 1, I think I might have been able to get him. So either way, it was just awesome, and it's going to be many more great races together.
That's your top 3 then, and I think some very honest words from Sebastian Vettel about where Ferrari find themselves. Let's talk to his teammate Charles Leclerc, who looked to be heading for a podium today, just lost out at the end. I think he, like Sebastian Vettel, disappointed with this first half of the season, understanding there's much work still to be done. So nearly a podium today, but for a couple of laps.
Yeah, it's life. I need to learn from it. I'm pretty sure. There's much to learn. I've been struggling towards the end of the race with the rears. At the end of the first stint, also with the rears. So I don't know. There's few races that I seem quite strong in qualifying, but in the race I seem to struggle always with the rear tyres. So I need to understand if there's a bit of a compromise to find there, and also with my driving maybe to improve a little bit to try and keep the tyres more towards the end of the race.
There's no denying though, Ferrari were never in the fight for the win today. How much of a disappointment is that for you as we go into the summer break, looking at all the promise that existed from the early rounds?
Yeah, we are struggling at the moment. We knew we were struggling at this race, but probably a bit more than expected. So we need to work, and hopefully we'll find something for the second half of the season.
What a weekend for McLaren, really cementing their position as 4th best of the rest, if you like, in Formula One, behind Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. They weren't expecting this one to suit them, and yet with a P5 for Carlos Sainz and a P9 for Lando Norris, a brilliant return at the end of the weekend, and it could have been so much more. They were running together for the majority of the race until a slow stop for Lando Norris dropped him back, and he had to try and fight back through towards the tail end of the race. But the pace of the car, the steps this team have been through, the advancements we've seen, nothing short of incredible, and a lot of positivity here, a lot of happiness, and really, I think a lot of pride, as there should be, in what they've achieved and what they could achieve in the second half of the year. Oh boy, it was looking really great, and then that pit stop, and then it suddenly got really hard.
Yeah, no, it was a tough race. I mean, the beginning was reasonably good. I got ahead of the Red Bull, I think I was ahead of the Red Bull, but I was a bit cautious because I knew Carlos was somewhere around me. Not because he's an aggressive driver, just he's my teammate. So no, we had some good pace in the car today. Just lost out, like you said, from the pit stop, so made it even tougher. But Carlos got some very good points for the team and for us. I got 2 points, so it always helps. But no, it was still a good race.
I can see the smile on your face.
Yeah, very happy, to beat in a normal race a Mercedes and a Red Bull after a good start, after a great pace in the first stint. I was told that the last 10 laps of the first stint were actually quicker than the Ferraris, opening a big gap with the guys behind and finishing P5. It's in a normal race, as I said, is really, really good news.
Brilliant job, well done. Behind the McLaren then, the second Red Bull, on a day when the Red Bull could have won. Is P6 ultimately good enough for Pierre Gasly? He was 9/10 off in qualifying, never looked in the race today as though he had the same pace as Max Verstappen. Let's talk to him, find out exactly what it was that didn't quite gel for him today. Pierre, hard weekend for you. Talk us through the race.
Yeah, it was a difficult one. Need to understand what went wrong, because we had a strong Friday, and then from FP3 onwards was really difficult and struggle with the grip. Was the case in qualifying. Same kind of issues, and then today was again difficult. So the start didn't help us. After I tried to attack as much as I could, but was just sliding everywhere. So we need to analyze and try to understand what went wrong after Friday.
I remember yesterday you said you didn't think you had the car to compete with Max or with the Mercedes. Why is that? Is there something different between the two cars? Is it setup? Is it feel? What's it?
At the moment, for sure we need to analyze, because I think on Friday we had decent pace. For sure Max did a really good job, but then we just lost massively from FP3 and just struggled with the grip a lot. So at the moment I think we just need to sit down with the guys, work all together, try to find out what went wrong, and then come back stronger for Spa.
Real tale of two halves for Alfa Romeo in the race today. Antonio Giovinazzi just didn't really seem to have any pace at all. He took a knock on lap 1, and from that point on the car was sort of unbalanced. He wasn't really all together, and he finished down in P18. His teammate Kimi Raikkonen, however, after yesterday saying he wasn't sure how today would go at all, really didn't have that much confidence in the car, said he didn't have any confidence in the speed. The overall speed of the handling was okay, just the speed of the car wasn't there. Managed to bring home a P7 result today. Kimi, I know you were expecting a hard day today, but more points than you were expecting maybe?
I don't know really. I didn't expect much, because obviously I had no idea where we're gonna end up after Friday, how we run. But actually the car was behaving very well. I thought we had more speed than the McLaren in the beginning, and but then after the pit stop, we knew that it's impossible to overtake, and I just saved the tires for the end, and we lost one position on the pit stop. We gained one, so maybe the only thing that we could really done better is stop a lap earlier, but. That's how it goes.
And so did Valtteri Bottas, who of course started the race from the front row of the grid, but then had those 2 knocks on the first lap, ultimately really putting an end to any chance he had of scoring a decent result in today's race. The team at one point got on the radio and said that P6 was his projected finish. It wasn't. It was P8. It was a disappointing way to end this first half of the Formula 1 season. Valtteri, 2 knocks on the first lap, and I guess that was pretty much game over from that point.
Yeah, the first lap was a bit messy, a couple of hits, and got a broken front wing from that, and big understeer because of that. There was no front end, so we had to stop early, straight into traffic, going through the field, but it was tricky. Just lost so much time there, and I tried as hard as I could, but it was difficult.
Do you feel on that first lap that the moves that you were involved with were altogether fair?
I have to see from the video. For sure there was not much room. left by Lewis, but I guess it was hard racing, but I don't know, have to see.
One of the real thrill rides of the race today was the battle between the Toro Rosso teammates Alex Albon and Danny Kvyat. It looked like Kvyat was going to come out on top of those battles. Good, proper elbows out racing, really enjoyed it. Ultimately though, his tyres hit a cliff and he finished down in P15. His teammate Alex Albon though hung on P10 at the close after a pretty spirited fight with Sergio Perez. So 1 point for Toro Rosso, but a lot of fun on track. Alex, a great run, including a great battle with your teammate. Points at the end of the day, something I imagine you'd be pretty happy with.
Yeah, it was we had 2 fights actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good fun. I struggled a lot on the first stint. Just from the very first lap, I didn't feel any grip at all. And then after that, the car really came alive on the hard tyres. And then the pace was really good. So we need a bit of work to do. Looking at the gap from Norris, maybe he was a bit far ahead. So maybe 10th was the best we could have done today.
Difficult way for Racing Point to end this first half of the year. It's a track that has rarely suited them over the years in their former guise as Force India, and didn't really suit them this weekend. Lance Stroll down in P17, but Sergio Perez that close to coming home in the points. Ultimately P11 for him today. Checo, after a pretty difficult weekend, to be 1 space out of the points, is that something to be happy about, or is it just agonisingly close?
I think it's definitely something to be proud. We did definitely a fantastic race, a great first lap, and all the way through we were just constantly on the limit. We were very aggressive with our strategy. We undercut 2 cars, and every lap was just on the limit, pushing hard, and in the end Albon came. He was very fast. He did some contact to me and damaged a bit my suspension, and I struggled towards the end.
Difficult weekend for Renault. Nico Hülkenberg starting just outside the top 10. Daniel Ricciardo starting from the very back of the grid after he took a power unit change because he'd had such a disappointing qualifying performance. Ultimately Hülkenberg finished down in P12. That guy in P14. Have a good break. Down in P14. Had a lot of great battles, a lot of great fights. Ultimately not for the positions that he would have wanted. Love you too.
Yeah, I mean, there was always going to be a challenge getting into the top 10. I think there were moments where we were looking all right. We came through a few of the cars early on, and then Valtteri, I guess, was out of position, so we managed to hold him off for a bit. So there was some little positives, and then made the hard last pretty long. Oh, I think we're on. No, not yet. And then with the softs, they got out the pits, and it felt like we had some pace. Caught Kevin pretty quick, and then I don't know, there was a few times I was looking and I felt he was moving under braking pretty obvious from at least where I was sitting. I don't know how it looked on TV, but it was frustrating. So by then we were locking wheels and trying to avoid crashing nearly every time trying to pass, and then it was pretty shagged at the end. So I saw cars in front struggling more with the tyres, but my peak had gone and I was struggling to really launch a proper attack, so wasn't too impressed. But that's what happens when you start at the back.
Another difficult weekend for the Haas F1 team. Romain Grosjean had made it up into the top 10 in qualifying in the old car and was looking pretty good. Kevin Magnussen really struggling with the new car. Was great in Q1, was nowhere in Q2, and so going into today's race it all looked to be a little uncertain. Grosjean had a brilliant first stint, but then changed from the soft to the hard, and having not run on the hard all weekend, just absolutely dropped. Car wouldn't respond to it. Awful, absolutely awful race. Then I think they had a water leak. I think that's what it's what he believes happened. So there was a water leak, and retired from the race. So Grosjean DNF. Kevin Magnussen, we're going to hear from him. Again, a hard day, a struggling day for them. He had some great fights, so possibly some positivity to take out for what was otherwise in P13 a disappointing afternoon. Kev, P13. Had some really great battles out there. I know there's no points, but did you at least have some fun?
Yeah, but you never know if there's some opportunity at the end, so you've just got to do everything you can to stay in position and take any opportunity that you get, even though you're outside of the points. You could have people run out of fuel or punctures, crashes, anything like that, so got to stay at it.
After a weekend of great positivity for Williams, having seen their car almost go through to Q2 with the new upgrade package on it, the race today saw more excitement. George Russell for a lot of the contest competing, racing with the likes of the Toro Rossos and the Haas and the Racing Points, but ultimately a bit of a sort of return to earth with a thud. Robert Kubica P19, George Russell P16, but crucially, once again, both cars to the finish. I believe the only team to do that at every race in this first half of the season. George, great run. Opening laps must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you know, it was finally nice to be battling with other cars. Made two overtakes, running in 14th, I think it was. So that was fun. It kind of didn't really know what it was like to be battling in the midfield, let's say. But you know, I think today was back to reality. We've definitely closed the gap, but we're still definitely the slowest car. So you know, I think if it was another circuit, everyone else would have just overtaken and pulled away. Is the reality, but you know, we did make a good step forward.
And that is your lot from Paddock Pass at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and for this first half of the season. We go into the summer break in a very different state than I think we thought we would when this season began so many months ago. We expected, and we got it totally wrong, that Ferrari would be the team to beat, and it quickly became apparent that no, it was Mercedes once again. Ferrari have shown fits and starts of speed, but when they've had that win on a plate, they've not been able to bring it through to fruition. A team that's surprised everybody by taking advantage of their situation is Red Bull and Honda. And how quickly that relationship has gelled. Helmut Marko said at the start of the season, 5 wins, and people scoffed and they laughed. Joking, mate. They've got 2. And as Lewis said at the top of this show, he's relishing it. He's relishing the fight, he's relishing the battle. He went wheel to wheel with Max today and he loved it, and we loved it because it's what we've been waiting for. It's tantalizing to think that in the second half of the season, this could very easily become a Max Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton, Red Bull Honda versus Mercedes fight for the Formula One World Championship. Max Verstappen today sits 7 points behind Valtteri Bottas as we go into the summer break. 7 points behind the guy that won the first race of the season at a point at which everybody thought Mercedes was just going to run off into the distance. Can't wait. 3-week break. And I know that 3 weeks is a long time to wait for the next race, but the teams have worked so hard. They need a little rest, get their heads back together. Ferrari, I think probably more than anybody, just need those couple of weeks just to sort of decompress, bring themselves back stronger, hopefully in race winning form. Can't wait to see what the rest of the season brings. Lewis Hamilton is your championship leader, but Max Verstappen's coming. See you in a few weeks.